Satnam, and welcome to the show with my special guest today, CARA Elizabeth. I am so excited because she's my friend and a super inspiring human being. So I'd just like everyone to get your medicine. I mean, a lot of people, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people around the world, probably millions at this stage, have been influenced by you. But I'm going to read a little bit because I want you to understand what we're getting here. Okay? So CARA Elizabeth launched the Animal Apothecary card deck, and since then has been teaching experimental methods of sharing her experimental methods of workshops, teaching experimental methods.
Yeah.
That's all it says.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I do.
Experimental methods. Okay. Body technology, self-hypnotization, dance manifesting. She's working on her new upcoming card deck and book, which I cannot speak about, but I'm very excited for. And she also focuses on transmuting the energy of trauma into fulfilling your purpose. She's a member of the Gucci Women's Empowerment Board, where she teaches, and amazing other things to share. Okay, I would like, let's get down to it. I would like to pull a card for our audience, past, present, wherever you are in the time-space continuum. Thank you for tuning in. This is for you now. Let's go.
You're going to pull it.
Oh.
Or should we both pull one? And I
think you should pull it. This
okay.
is your power.
I was like, this is not how I do it. Okay, yeah. Okay. Za. That's not how I do it either. Surrender to receive. Okay. So
make sure they see the card.
Look at it. Okay, so this is pretty cool because this is actually this idea about you being able to really trust in life, which I think is one of the most difficult things to do. And this is saying that there is something that you're working toward manifesting, that life is actually co-collaborating with you, and thinking that you're trying to control this thing. It's actually, you don't have to worry about how this thing is going to manifest. As long as you just keep putting in the effort, life is actually co-collaborating with you, making sure that this thing happens, making sure that you're running into the right people, the right opportunities are approaching you. So the great news is that you can kind of have this relief that you can trust that life has got your back. And I think that actually is really difficult for most of humanity, is trusting life. But it's freaking cool. It's like life actually wants you to do this thing and is helping you as long as you take the action. You just don't need to try to figure out how it's going to happen.
Surrender.
It
is a very foreign concept.
Yeah.
Okay, well, welcome.
I'm super excited to be here with you.
You're
like one of my closest friends, so I'm honored. And this woman is frigging amazing. You didn't know.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you about this phrase that we use, which is reclaiming your power. We hear this a lot. Reclaim your power. This is kind of your specialty. Where has the power gone?
It never left. It never left us. And I think that, there are these things that happen in our life that make us feel like, there's situations that make us feel like we've been powerless to them, but our power is something we always have. But there are these, for me, because of, as a child and dealing with sexual abuse, you really learn power dynamics in such a profound way, because sexual abuse, pedophilia, rape, all that stuff is all about power. They're getting off on having power over someone. That's all it is. It's about power. So at such a young age, learning about this and having someone, getting off on taking power over you and feeling completely powerless, feeling that ultimate powerlessness, you learn a lot of things about sex, and you learn a lot of things about power and power dynamics between people. So, I don't think that actually answers your question, but I would say that I have a deep understanding of of what power actually is, which is being your true self, which is using your voice, which is using your boundaries, which is expressing yourself in your truest way, and the freedom to do that. That does feel pretty powerful. But I think that, it's a weird society at this moment that we're living in, or it's always kind of been weird because we're growing. We're in a very immature stage, like adolescent stage. So think of like high school. Everyone's like trying to be cool and like have their power, and it's very egoic. So true power is just being your truest self, because for anyone to think that their power comes from having power over another person is the weakest person. Even though they're actually powerful, they just can't connect to it. But that's why they're actually trying to have power over other people, is because they feel so weak. So next time someone tries to overpower you, you can just remember that, oh, they actually feel really weak. And
okay, this is actually the part of your bio that I glazed over that I wanted to read because it's so profound. So CARA Elizabeth credits her decades of complex PTSD due to sexual childhood trauma not only as her greatest asset, but what led her to the creation of Animal Apothecary. After very little success with healing from both Western and alternative medicine practices, CARA finally chose to no longer look outside of herself to fix what was broken, and instead to go within and heal herself. I don't know if anybody's ever said that in relation to that. If you have, shout out to you and message us. But I think that this is a really profound, for lack of a better word, way to relate to that situation. And huge medicine, you're just existing today as you are from that.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting because there's this kind of relationship I've had with my trauma. And I've gotten to points in my life where I've been able to really see from a certain perspective of my past is this like weird gift blessing, because without that level of understanding, of that depth of dementedness, of that depth of darkness, of that depth of, so-called powerlessness, I wouldn't be able to understand all the power that I have inside. And I've had these moments where I really get that, right? Like I can really see that these things, the darkest of the darkest, is literally how I have the same side of that coin, is that it's allowed me to shine my light. But I will say I went through an interesting, and what you read in my bio, I did have complex PTSD for 18 years. And then I figured it out myself, which was the most empowering thing. It was like, that was the medicine. It was like, girl, no one's going to do this for you. You're the freaking medicine, which was that was like, oh, right. Because I kept looking outside myself for someone to fix me and heal me. And it's like, no, I'm the one that's going to like fix me and heal me. So I think that's really important for anyone that has dealt and lived through these kind of traumas, but is that you're the medicine. But the other thing I will say, that just a couple weeks ago on my birthday, I was telling you, it was called the birthday release. It was like, there was these really like intense kind of few things that really re-triggered me. And it was like, oh, right. Like, oh, I spent like 18 years of my life living in like constant triggers, but remembering. And I was able to like connect to an aspect of myself, a 7-year-old part of myself that I haven't connected to in that way before. And I really was able to honor, because I would say I've come to this point since healing and overcoming the past 5 years, and in this making of leveling up, I've really been able to be like, my trauma's a gift. And everyone looks at me like I'm insane. Like, no, it's not. It hurts my mom's feelings when I say that. It bothers other people. And I'm like, screw you. Like, you don't get to tell me about my trauma, the sacredness of my trauma, and how I've been able to like see it as something that has been really powerful in my growth. But it was weird because I reconnected to that 7-year-old, and I'm even getting emotional and like, oh my God, like it's really, it is really, horrific what I endured, and like it's almost washing over her to be like, it's a gift. And I think this could possibly sound insane to anyone. And again, I just want to circle back to like, I've been able to turn my trauma into a gift of how all the light that I've been able to bring from that, but also just like still recognizing that there is such a deep sacredness in that horror and that pain, and honoring that like those are crimes against nature that never should be done. But I also think that like, you know, as we heal and we grow, and those of us who can overcome these things, we are actually laying a foundation for those kind of behaviors not to continue, because for the most part, pedophilia, it is not a genetic thing. It is a learned behavior. Mm-hmm. And it is learned because those people have also been molested. So in that way, like, us growing and healing creates, you know, a better environment to not repeat that behavior for others. So,
of course. Yeah. Well, thank you for your bravery and the depths in which you have traversed. For the rest of us, everyone I know who is naturally gifted in emotional or just in general alchemy has had that depth in both realms. So it seems almost like not a blessing, like you're saying, a gift. Not you wouldn't phrase it as a blessing, but definitely an initiation.
Yeah.
Into being a carrier of truth on another level for other humans.
Yeah, and I guess that is what it is. It's like, that is where I see the justice of what has happened to me, is that life was like, we will not serve you this darkness without you have now the ability for that same amount of understanding of light. And that is like, for me, of finding my power and then sharing my gifts with others through that for me is the justice.
It's beyond justice. I mean, it's like, it's something much greater.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Wow. Well, this card deck is incredible. And we at Rama, our yoga center, people come in, they come to yoga, meditation, sound healing, all this. We have it at the front desk because you gave me a copy, and we started selling it. And I was like, well, people should have the cards to touch and like play with. Next thing you know, it's like people cannot go to class without like pulling a card. And I've never been that kind of person who externalized my answers through, you know, decks or different kind of things, but there's something about it that is so practical and grounded, like yourself. And I do enjoy other, you know, decks and looking into tarot and all these kind of things, but something is so practical. It comes with this guidebook that has, you know, you reference scientific studies and all these different things for people to get rooted. But I'd love to just talk about how you, first of all, you're an artist. So how you used your art to transmute this, and just how it started, because it's pretty cool.
Thank you. I mean, I think that it was like this cool kind of investigation journey of, once I figured out what I was doing with the cards, like when I was like started making these cards with animals, and there's a whole story there that I won't like go too deep into, but it was like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I loved that, like, and I've always been into, animal medicine and these indigenous teaching. Animal medicine, for those people out there that don't know, it's the Native American indigenous teaching and philosophy that when certain animals appear in our life, that if you study their behavior and mythology and lore, that there's usually some kind of mirror reflection of something that you can learn. And if you look at any culture out there, pretty much every ancient culture, indigenous teaching, they have this like wisdom of understanding nature and animals as that they represent these different kind of totems. And so anyways, I have always been in honor of those teachings. And, you know, since I was in high school when my mom started teaching me about it, but I just became kind of fascinated with like, what if these animals were my prescriptions? So I started then kind of understanding if I was going through something, like what animal represents like valuing yourself. Like I'm having a really hard time with my insecurity and my lack of confidence and feeling not good enough. Like what animal is going to represent, you know, being whole and confident, but also has like a dichotomy of like maybe like a self-worth thing. And it was like pig, right? Like if you call someone a pig, that's not cool, but they're one of the most valuable creatures. Like you can feed, I think like up to 120 people with one pig. They're super valuable. But they also deal with this thing where like their name is made or used as like a way to make fun of people. So I would just go down these rabbit holes, like, you know, which animal is going to represent power, which animal is going to represent boundaries. But each time it was like this thing that like, so the way that life has so kindly gifted me of teaching, they're like, girl, you're going to have to understand this quality for you then to figure out how to work on it and fix it. And then you get to teach people about it. And it's like, all right. So it's like, I have to know all the annoying things about myself and all the weaknesses and all the insecurities. But they're really cool because they also are like, it just means I have that exact opposite quality in myself, because this whole dichotomy of life, it's like, if you are this one thing, it means you're the exact opposite too. So anyways, I go down and I just start like making these prescription cards, like which, you know, creature is going to be the one to help me through this. And then I can like study it and learn about it. And then let me like find scientific teachings and this about it and whatever. And sometimes they would come to me in dreams too and teach me. So it's kind of how it was created. But yeah, and I am an artist, and my background is in experimental animation and performance art and music and dance and whatever. But it is funny that it came back to like the basics of drawing, which is like where we all start.
What was your first card?
Let's see.
That you made for yourself. So that's how like most of your work is, and how it has such weight, I think, is that you've taken yourself through these deep alchemical processes, and then you're like, now I'm ready to share it.
Yeah.
So there's a real experiential knowledge.
Yeah, it's not just like, I think there's a lot of like parroting. Is that what it's called? When you parrot, like, I'm going to hear this idea and I'm going to talk about it. It's like, I'm going to hear this idea. It sounds like a good idea. Let me try it. Let me try it for a while. Let me like see if this really works. Or let me see if this works if I like slightly change it a little bit. So that is one of the things I do. But this is the Destiny Path card. The Omnius Unis S card is the first card I ever made.
What does that mean?
So Omnius Unis S, all is one, everything is one, which I could go on about the oneness. But the irony is that, you know, this whole card in a nutshell, it's about like sharing your gifts of service with humanity and transmuting your darkest pains into your greatest gifts. And that it signifies that you are in alignment with your destiny path. And making this card, it's weird that I didn't know that this was the beginning of my destiny path, or this new part of my destiny path. So it's funny that that's the first card.
And it's the best card.
It is the best card. It's the best card to get. Like, definitely you want to know that you're on your path. So
awesome. All right. Well, in terms of the transmuting trauma, like, first of all, trauma is a trigger word for me because I feel like, now everyone's really into regurgitating their trauma and like swimming in their trauma. And having a deep experience of that, which all stems in a positive, growth, I think, for us. But it's gotten a little bit kind of, I don't know, ineffective because I'm very much, in the teachings of the forward momentum. But you do hold this frequency of no matter what your trauma is, doesn't have to be as horrific as your experience. We all have the ability to transmute that. Can you pragmatically talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, it's really interesting when you look at your trauma and you look at, and some of you might not be able to quite like pinpoint it. Like mine was pretty obvious. Like, yes, that's trauma. Others could be more, something was really dysfunctional in your household and it just seemed normal, but it was just a weird kind of program that made you super dysfunctional and grow up to like have unhealthy relationships, unhealthy boundaries, stuck in a job that doesn't feel like you're fulfilling your purpose, whatever. So if we look to our traumas and we look to our, what are all those limiting beliefs? It's literally a freaking roadmap to your destiny path. Like your trauma is like, I am showing you exactly what you're supposed to be doing in life. And what that is the exact opposite of whatever belief system that your trauma made. Let me give you an example. My trauma made me feel powerless. Okay, so part of my destiny path is to claim my power, to stand in my power, to find my power. My power made me feel voiceless. I lost my voice. So much work on me using my voice. And now it's such a part of what I do is like speaking to people. My trauma, it took away my trust in myself and life. And that is something I'm still working on is, trusting myself. And it's so much better, but trusting life, right? When you're like betrayed by life, like life with a capital life, like, wait, you let that happen? You let that go on? Like, that's like really like life, like you let this, what? You lose faith in life. Like, what the hell is your problem, life? So a part of my destiny path is to reconnect to life in such a deeper, more nourishing and not have it about fear. Another thing that was taken from me was the control over my body. And I have now become so infatuated with, oh my God, I can use my body to manifest. I can use my body to release. I can use my body to heal. My body, now my body is really good at telling me things through physical symptoms. Like lately it's hives and but I'm like instead of being scared of it, I'm like, all right, sis, like what are we talking about here? Like now it's like a hive eye situation. It's like, girl, do you see what we're talking about? Do you see? Like, there's a reason why the eye is so I'm reflecting on my eye because it's like the moment, like, is the thing. So anyways, my body, reconnecting with my body, finding the power of my body. And that's also why I honor the wisdom of Kundalini yoga so much, because it really is just so, it just discusses this power of how our body is the technology. We are the most sophisticated computer. Anyways, so back to just like, if you think about your trauma, if you think about your negative or whatever your insecurities are, it just means you have the exact opposite power of that within you. So if you're super like insecure, it actually only means that you have this incredible confidence, this ability to be super freaking powerfully confident. If you have had just horrific relationships in love, it means you have this ability to have the most deeply profound, healthy relationship with love. So that is what is so cool about our traumas and about our, those insecurities and those belief systems that come from these really dark things. It just means we have the exact opposite within us. And I think that's super empowering. And I think it's so easy. And I lived as a victim, playing out. For me, I didn't remember that any of what happened to me as a kid, it came out when I started remembering when I was 18. And then for 18 years, reliving my past. And like, it was almost this weird thing, relationship with victim. Like I wore it like as a badge. Like, what happened to you? Like, this is what it's almost like twisted. It's like this kind of like, how effed up is your life? Like, check out my scene.
Yeah, suffering is so hot right now.
Yeah. But what's hotter is being powerful and not being a victim. And it is the most amazing, it's the medicine. It's like, as long as you're a victim to that thing, if it is a illness, if it is whatever the thing is, it's just going to kind of like keep you in that state. So
this is one of the teachings that Guru Jagat shared that's really helpful. I believe it's scientifically kind of repeated as well, which is trauma is trauma. So like, it could have been really bad, it could have been not that bad, but for the most part, for the majority of us, it lodges in the same way. Like, your mom could have been mean to you once, and then suddenly you're like, women are mean.
yeah.
My whole life. And so just know that you can take comfort, and we all have, everybody, as also Hadi Jivan says, everybody made their teacher. Everyone had a mother and everyone had a father.
Yeah.
Calm down. Like, you are not special. Everyone had a childhood. And it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Yeah.
And to rewrite and move forward. And one of the scariest, it's really terrifying thing that I encounter are people who are still victims of their childhood, and they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
They're still mad at their parents. They're still they've given their power away like so much, and it's remarkable.
Yeah. That's a really scary existence. And especially because I saw that for me, like, living so much, you know, of a victim to the trauma that happened to me. And I mean, for me, it was 18 years of reliving that constantly. There's a couple things that were going on. It stunted me from my self-actualization. So that's one thing that's really scary for anyone out there who is still holding on to the reliving something from the past. And do not freaking get me wrong. Like, I get it. I did it for basically almost 2 decades. Like, it's hypnotizing. It's just like, you know, the pain is freaking real. It chokes you and you're held by it, and it's just, you know, and there's the biology and the replaying and the how it programs you, and there's all so it's not just like snap out of it. It's like some real warrior stuff to, you know, move on from that. But what is scary is that when we stay in this kind of always feeling like, you know, I need to be fixed, or we're in this past of those things, it stunts you from your own self-actualization. And our self-actualization is so imperative, especially at this moment in humanity, because, you know, we're seeing a lot of, or, you know, there's always been a lot of weird stuff going on, but we're very privy to it now, and it's at a fast rate. And the cool thing about our self-actualization is that no one who is on the journey of their self-actualization and becoming their true self, they're not going to be destroyers of Earth. They're not going to be destroyers of other humans. They're not going to be destroyers of the creatures. It's because like our purposes are some kind of gift of service to humanity. So, you know, to circle back, the thing that is scariest about continuously living in the pain of your past is that it is stunting to your self-actualization, and your self-actualization is imperative for humanity's destiny path, which is the oneness of humanity.
So the only way out is through, is what we're saying. And no one's coming to save you.
Yeah, it's you. Like you are saving you.
And yeah, I don't know. We were both coming from having been in deep pits, people who've been in deep pits and are now in this position. It takes a lot of ruthless compassion.
Yeah.
Because, and also when you talk about the trauma being the gold or the trauma being the greatest asset, similarly, I like to relate to the resistance where I have like such resistance. I'm like, okay, this is a PowerPoint in the mandala of success or growth for my trajectory. This resistance is the PowerPoint. That's the thing I need to do. The thing I don't want to do is the thing that you really need to do. And again, you could get more nuanced with it. Sometimes you're being protected. Sometimes that's not where you need to go or whatever. But in many cases, things that are in front of you that you really resist, that's where you lean in. And then there's this massive transmutation that happens almost instantly, just like the sutra, one of the sutras of this age, meaning rules to live by, is start and the pressure will be off, or when the pressure's on, start and the pressure will be off. So you're facing that wall, you're facing that thing that you've been avoiding, whether it's, giving up your victim consciousness or a variation of that. You lean into it and suddenly there's this massive release of, you've been carrying this weight of this narrative, this story in your head that's like so big and scary, and then it just vanishes.
You know what I love about what you said? And I think like there's something, I don't know. You know how it's like you don't get it till you actually get it. And then you can like read a book when you're 20. And then when you read it when you're 30, you're like, oh, I get it now. And what you were talking about, like leaning into that, like what does that even mean? But it means everything. There is something about, and that to me also is about reframing those uncomfortable moments, like when we're triggered and we're like, oh, it's happening again. It's like, no, this trigger. So that's the other thing, is like our concept of triggers, and I can go into that later, but triggers are just revealing that there's something that needs to be moved through you to get to a bigger version of yourself. And triggers are awesome. They're so freaking cool. They're like, you're about to grow, or we need you to grow. So life is mirroring back and confronting something that, needs to be released and moved on. But I think when we, that's why I'm always into like this idea of like, do it scared, right? Like, I think a lot of people are like waiting to like feel confident to like do the thing or make their dream happen. It's like, no, you're going to do it scared, do it uncomfortable, like lean into that. That is good. Like, we're so like, especially Americans, like we love comfort and we love recognition. But like, it's like, oh my God, like just do it scared. Just do it as a warrior. Like, and the warrior thing, it's like, courage is funny because it has nothing to do with confidence, right? Like everyone's like, oh, it's like, no, do it. Because here's the other thing is when you like level up, you kind of realize no one actually knows what they're doing. They've been figuring it out as they go on, and they get better because they learn from all the things that didn't go right all those times.
Or just in general, like nobody knows what they're doing.
No, like
no one. That's
like,
the big,
like no one.
That's the like shattered glass plot twist for adulthood. You realize you get into the new room and you have like the new outfit on and you're like all fancy and ready to level up, and then you realize, wait, these people don't know what they're doing either.
But it's okay because like none of us.
It's fine, but it's just to be aware that there's a narrative around there of you must, make this much money. You must speak this particular jargon. You must be in this group to understand said thing. And I think the internet's doing a super good job of dismantling that, because they're like, here's how like everything. I think that, the powers that be, we're not going to name drop and get shadow banned, but the powers that be are kind of fucked. because the internet is like,
Yeah.
and we're going to debunk this and this and this and this. And it just like cannot be tamed. Like
Yeah.
it is like spreading like wildfire that like anything you want to know, you can know with the click of the button. An experience you want to have is available to you. Your power can be easily claimed. And it's like going to be really interesting to see how it goes down in the
Yeah.
near future.
The other interesting thing about, I mean, the future, I don't even know if we should go down this rabbit hole because you just said the future. And I'm like, now I'm like going down this thing of like, but time doesn't even exist.
Well, I would like to discuss, since you're another believer in the concept of world peace being attainable.
Yeah.
Let's discuss.
Let's discuss world peace. So first, I'll credit the faith that I am and what I grew up in this culture, in the Baha'i faith, that is like obsessed with world peace. So my entire growing up was all about this like unity and diversity, equality of women and men, like oneness of all the peoples, like, you know, just like diversity, like, and it really is true. Like anything that works well is because there's diversity. Whenever you have like the same people, you know, it just creates like inbred creatures.
Mm-hmm. Boring.
No, but like literal inbred. Like, okay, so like here's the other thing, like how nature is a reflection of like what's really going on with everything. And when, so if you have the same family line of people having sex, it's like this is what they procreate. And like this is like, you know, we have these systems of like these same kind of people understand it through this understanding. It's just like it's gonna create dysfunctional things. Anyways, so world peace. It's interesting in the Baha'i philosophy because I also grew up with this teaching, with this prophecy that humanity is going to come to a point, that humanity's destiny path is our oneness, that everything is one, that humanity is like one human body and every part is like a cell or a bone or a liver or a heart. And we all have these parts that we are meant to do and to share. And that's why it's so important that we really, you know, there's this urge to self-actualize, like who am I, what is my part in this, what is my role, and that this oneness of humanity. And here's the other thing is like when people say world peace, everyone's like, oh, what is that? It's like it doesn't, I think even the idea of world peace is from this limited like where we are in society. Like we don't even know what that even means. Like it's like the things that the superhuman powers that are going to be developing in the next 100 years of like our consciousness and like our ability to like manifest like no other, and like how fear isn't going to be a thing in our power and like whatever. I think we don't even understand what that means. So let's just, you know, back to the oneness, and that this prophecy is that this oneness of humanity that is destined for us is going to come about in one of two ways. And the first way is that, you know, things are going to start getting pretty dark, and it is so it's so unbearable that we awaken and we start realizing like, oh, we have to like figure this out. And we're in that moment right now. We still have time to wake up. We still have time to, you know, because the second way that this could go down, again, this is a prophecy, so, you know, who knows, but is that it will get so bad and humanity will go so deep into the darkness that it comes to a point where the only way is for whatever is left to unite and to rebuild again and to create this peace. So you know, I think that there's so many light bringers right now, and in these teachings, this moment in our time is called children of the half light. We're toggling between these two worlds, but there's these people that are awakening to their light, and you know, you're a light bringer, and I just think that like our there's something about, and I don't have scientific proof for this, but I just think that like our real selves, our true selves, like we are light, we are light, we are light, we are light, we are light. And I don't even know what that means, but everything in me is like, we are light.
Well, the Buddhist or Chogyam Trungpa calls it basic goodness. Everyone's basically good.
Yeah.
And also like C.S. Lewis's book, Mere Christianity, is really incredible. Which also is just an understanding of the humans are naturally good. And I think about this all the time, living in a city that functions like New York. We are trusting people to not run us over.
Yeah.
Like we're trusting people to be basically good, to not rob people, to not hurt people, to not run over somebody who's in front of you, to stop and like let them cross. Like everything in society is based on the fact that humans are basically good. A healthy human is good in nature.
Yeah.
Naturally, it's natural to be good.
Yeah.
So it's only natural that as things heal, and that's why we use the word heal. Everyone's like, "Oh, I need to heal," but that's what that is the parts of you that have gotten, twisted or confused just need to heal.
Yeah.
So that they're basically good again. And then we can trust that flow of the universe, which is basically good. And it only takes a few people. And this can be quantified in quantum physics. It only takes a few people to change the consciousness of the collective, which is why it matters that not just us, but you guys.
Yeah.
Everyone out there gets out there and they share what they have to share. And I would like to touch on that because you post these videos on the internet. I love that CARA yells at us. I call her the spiritual Tony Robbins.
Oh my gosh.
Because she's like screaming at us about being good or like light. And it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But you share these things and you talked about feeling the fear and doing it anyways. What I just want everybody else to share, because there's this thing that we're running into often where it's like, oh, you have a podcast, like you're going to talk about it. I just can watch it. Like, I don't need to do that. Or, I'm not frontal facing like my business. It doesn't need an Instagram or whatever, all these like excuses for not putting yourself out there. And by out there, I really mean like on the internet, because that is the age that we live in. There's a lot of incredible people I know who are facing resistance or just thinking that they're not the kind of people who need to put themselves out there. How did you reach this point where you were doing that? Well, before you had a show, because she's a punk rocker, obviously, at heart.
Yeah.
And you had a little show on TV.
Yeah.
Wait, can you talk about that for a second?
Born Again Pop, the TV show, the deconstruction and reconstruction of American pop culture. And I can tell you where I got that wrong. I focused on making a satire, and this was like 10 or 15 years ago. I focused on making a satire about everything messed up in the world, which everyone seems to be doing now. And it's so, I was really like focused on a lot of things like sexism, racism, nationalism, ageism. But my favorite topic was sexism. And you did say I yell. And my dad said to me once, like, stuff you're talking about, like, I think men might take it in better if you weren't like yelling at them, telling them what they're doing wrong. And I'm like, whatever, Dad. And like, oh, see, did I hit the peak? So before, for the viewers at home, they were like, yell as loud as you're gonna go because we know you're gonna yell. I'm like, no, I'm not. So anyways, as I have grown so much wiser, I also just like, I love men so freaking much. Like, I just, the pain that I've had from my past and my own things with certain people, and then projecting that on, a whole creation of men. Like, I just love men so much. But anyways, what I've learned now is that like, oh, I was just focusing on what everything that's wrong. Let me focus on uplifting people, and then there you go. And it became really successful. Like, Who would have thought? Like me focusing on just like, let's get uplifted. And then that works. So that was cool. But yeah, I've always been like, loved being in front of the camera. And then also, there's been moments of, I think the scariest part, like my art was very strange and a bit experimental at times and destructive. So it was almost like I like didn't care. But once I started teaching and using my voice about things that were felt just like a different kind of sacredness and about upliftment and about oneness and about using your gifts to serve humanity and about healing, and this goes back to your question about those people, like I dealt with like severe stage fright. Like it was bad. Like it was really, really bad. And I was like, I was the chick on the street with like the mic in the middle of Times Square, like preaching about like weird stuff. Like, how am I not able to, why is this so terrifying for me? Because I think it triggered something about using, my voice in a much more wise and powerful way. And it was so scary. And it was like, I would like practice so much before I would do talks. It was like I would be full blown trigger the entire week before I did a workshop. Like it was awful. It was like crying secretly constantly. And it was just not fun, even though everything in my heart was like, this is what I want to do. So I even went to the extreme of, one of the cards. Let me teach you the teaching of this card. So it's in you, the lion, right? From, the Wizard of Oz, how he's like, I gotta get courage. So he's like, I gotta go to the Wizard of Oz to get courage. But the irony is he had freaking courage the entire time on that like scary journey of the yellow brick road. But this card teaches, it's like, it's funny because I just realized it's not this card that teaches it. It's fine, whatever. That's just a message for someone. Like you already have the thing you're trying to get. But the thing for me was that I was trying to figure out like how does my future version feel really comfortable in front of people talking? And I was like, how do I become that future version of myself? And I was like, I'll take an improv class. So I went and I like took an improv class, and everyone's like, I'm a comedian. Like, we want to be on SNL. And I'm like, whatever, dude. I just want to not care what people think about me. So I did that, and it like deeply helped. So sometimes I think there are things that help us. Like if you can think, like if you're trying to put yourself out there and it is so terrifying and it's just this constant, I think sometimes we stop ourselves because it's triggering you and it's bringing up all your insecurities and your deepest fears about yourself. Like, yeah, that's uncomfortable. Like, I get it. That's why you don't want to do it. So you can kind of think, what would help me get past this? Like, what could I do small or something that could help me work through that fear? So then, for me, it was taking an improv class, and boy, it was like, it nipped it in the bud. I became a lot more like just cooler on stage, like a lot more chill.
It's seriously unserious.
It's seriously unserious. Yeah, it's so unserious that I spoke about the wrong card. It's like we're making mistakes all the time. It's like, who cares?
Also, our self-absorption is
it's a lot.
It's so special, so deep, and nobody cares. Like somebody might judge you for half a second, and then they're thinking about themselves again. So that's a very important thing to remember.
Yeah,
it's important and it's not important. Like, we're very important because each of us matter in the mandala. And then on the other hand, it's super not important for like your hair to be in the perfect position at all times. Exactly. Or my earrings, like,
turn your earrings, show your earrings to the crowd.
Understand that I wanted everyone to see them, and then they're turning around to the mirror, which is a metaphor because on the other side of the Divine Mother is the mirror. And you guys are getting the mirror today. The mirror wants to be seen, but look how cute they are on the other side. Okay.
I was saying that they keep turning inward because that power is within. She was like, no, let's turn it out.
That power is within. Okay, well, you just kind of blew up on the internet. Was that because of repetition?
I wouldn't say that I've fully, well, yeah. Okay. So, yes, repetition, doing it. I mean, when I look back at my beginning readings, oh my God, I'm like, it's your destiny path and you're meant to do this. I'm like,
girl,
like, have you seen my earlier readings? I'm like, you have this gift that you were meant to share.
I think you're still like humanity. That. I don't know what's changed.
I think maybe I'm like slightly cooler, whatever cool means. I don't even know. But like sometimes it's just there's such an intensity coming out in me. And it wasn't an act. It was real. It's always real. But I feel like, I guess after you say it so much, it chills a little bit. But yes, repetition absolutely has been everything. That's what it is. It's like you just keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it. And that,
for those who don't know, CARA gives readings on social media.
Yeah. CARA Elizabeth Speaks.
But they're short. They're not like...
They're short. Yeah. Keep it simple, stupid. Mm-hmm. Kiss. That's what my dad always says. But the repetition, and I think that, you know, it's like anything else in reality. I will also say that you can manifest whatever you want, even if you don't believe in yourself, because everyone is like, you got to believe in yourself. And I want to tell all my friends out there that don't believe in themselves, you can still do it. That's cool. Believing in yourself really helps. Oh my God. Like now that I believe in myself, wow. It amplifies my ability to manifest stuff. This whole thing, I didn't believe in myself. I didn't believe in myself at all. But look what I did. I didn't believe in myself.
The punk car is coming out.
Yeah, she's here. Hi.
Well, that's a fake it till you make it thing. That it's a quantum leap. And I always like hated that. I was like, what is that? Like, so annoying. But it is a total quantum leap of putting yourself in. That's all these spiritual teachers, you put yourself in the vibration of the thing that you desire, whether it's a material thing or it's a feeling within you that you would like to achieve, a relationship, whatever. You put yourself in the feeling as if you already have it. And then you keep putting yourself in the feeling as if you already have it, whether it's real or not. And then you blink your eyes. The next thing you know, this is your reality.
I have to say that's some sophisticated mind work though, because I don't feel like I can do that now, because it helps when you have proof. Like it helps when you can see that you've done something and you kind of get a glimpse of that feeling. And it really, really helps. Like it really, you know, sometimes when I'm doing the mundane and I'm still at this point in my life, I'm just like, wait, why would any of this bother me? Because I know I have XYZ, even though it's like in the future or whatever. But yeah, I'm just going to go back to like, but I get it though. There is like a level of consciousness where you just don't even know how to, because that's a real thing. Like sometimes it's really hard to imagine something better for yourself because you're so ingrained in such a like box of yourself. And that's why I just go back to like, as long as you don't give up, like it's all about math and chances. Like if you don't give up, it will happen. Like it's just how it works. Did you ever hear about that guy who, and it's a story from that book, Think and Grow Rich. And it's like, he blew all his money on this machinery to mine gold. And like for a couple years, he just kept searching and digging, and he just blew all his money and he never found anything. So one day he's like, I'm selling this, screw this. So he sells it. The other guy that buys it digs 3 feet, hits gold. Like, come on. Like, like, you're gonna get the thing as long as you don't give up. And that's the other thing. I think most people are just, especially Americans, we are like instant. Like, you want the instant gratification, but I don't know, if you can wait for it, you'll get it.
It's also part of the social media culture that like we want to have something to show for ourselves at all time of this like progress. And I'm very much always teaching about the momentum and the forward thinking and the goals and the bettering of the self. Not for that reason, but because that's like where actual fulfillment is if we're leaning into the beyond fear thing.
Yeah.
What we were discussing?
Doing it anyways, forward thinking. Yeah. But I just love a forward thinker like this one over here. Like, I think,
there was the staying power. We call it staying power. So it's the instant gratification of social media. And then staying power is where actual things are built. I have a friend who's been writing a book for at least 2.5 years. And that's like her main thing. And there's nothing to show for it and we know that it's going to be a massive
by the V.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to
be know good. It's going to be huge when it's finally released to the world, but she just knows so deeply that this is her mission. The book has to be made, the book has to come through. She's writing the book, and it's just really beautiful to watch the self trust, to know that you can go through that process. And then also the concept of creating something that is for the future or that you can hand down to a future generation. Like, these kind of projects are like lifelong. You know, there's some projects that we're dipping our toes into that are, you know, could not be done for several hundred years. And that's okay. And that's how previous societies lived, where they had that reverence for making something that great. And now we're in this place of like popping up these like buildings that you like blow on them and they fall over, and that's another thing I was, you know, social media taught me, but it makes total sense, is that these like eco buildings, they're like economically made and they're good for the environment, and they come up like instant, they look really ugly. But they're not going to last that long. And so if you're really making something that was good for the environment, it would last hundreds. It would be a properly made building that was more expensive to make, but would last hundreds and hundreds of years. But now we have that constant, you know, gratification, and turn it around and flip it. And And so anytime I can spend time around somebody who's moving at a slower pace, relating to a bigger mandala, it's just like such a deep exhale and a deep teaching, especially living in New York, but really just anywhere, of having trust in the grand design and just putting one foot in front of the other. It's also an addiction, this like constant next fix and level up. And
there is something so, there's like this wisdom in the slowness of things unfolding. And even like with this, the deck maybe took, I don't know, 3.5 years, and then it got released or whatever. And like in the beginning, and when I was working on everything and like realized I was making a card deck, and if, you know, and if life was like just 3 more years, I would be like, I can't, like, I mean, I would wait, but like, I wouldn't want to, like, but there's this amazing wisdom that comes out of things that grow in their proper time and slow. And you know what it really is? It's like, you know, if you're looking at an acorn, you're like, or if I'm the acorn, I'm like, I need to hurry up. I need to like hurry up and become an oak tree. And I don't let myself root, and I just pop up and I'm like, all right, I'm an oak tree. And then a wind comes and I just get knocked over. But then if I'm like, I'm really going to allow myself to root, I'm rooting. I slowly come up as the oak tree, and then a hurricane comes and it's like, you cannot mess with me. Like, you just can't. So there is something, and I think like our the parts of our culture that have grown older, and the wiser folks and just ancient cultures, there's just such an honoring of slowness that, oh my God, we're so like squirmy and like, I can't handle a slow thing. But it's just so, it's like, this is where wisdom is made, in slowness.
And then also this really beautiful teaching for artists, for need to taste my own medicine here, is you have to release things. Like you can't just like be like have 7 projects in the works and then like never put them out there, because it's not, I wouldn't say your self-worth, but it's like need, create, and then release, and then do that until you die.
Yeah.
Like pick one project and then the next project and then the next project, and just keep going, because that is your legacy.
Yeah.
Not only is that your fulfillment, but that's your legacy, because when you pass on, people are not going to be like, she had a lot of ideas cooking around in there that she, started and thought about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she really did the thing. She went through the grueling, she released the album, and she made out the card deck, and the book came out, and then, not that you're doing things for external validation, but just so that you understand what it's like to have an imprint, is that you stuck it out and you saw it through. You know?
I love that. It's funny because while you speak, I see myself in your earrings.
These are for your vanity.
So yeah, it's for my vanity, but I also am seeing myself in you. Yeah, it is just, there's that other weird thing in just speaking from artist to artist of just like that whole like perfection mode, like even down to like our next workshop we're doing together, and this friggin' headline, like I can't, like I'm like, is this right? Like, is it right? Is it right? And like I can't let it go. You know what I mean? We'll talk about that later after this. But the other thing, it's just like there is a point as artists, it gets so confusing, is like, is it even good? You know what I mean? Like that's,
yeah, I mean, this new book by Rick Rubin that's really popular is really helping people, because he's really a Zen master. And, he's like, it's done. Just when it's released, it is done. Just get it out there. It's never done.
yeah, it's never done. It just is like an involvement of everything.
Yeah. So thank you for evolving enough to live in your light and share it with everyone.
Oh my God. Thank you for just being you. 'Cause like you're freaking awesome.
Is there, before we share some animal medicine, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the class of the world?
That my like surefire way, if I was going to give like, not that you asked this, but like how to create whatever reality that you want to create, program yourself. What does that mean? So it's just kind of like some format of self-hypnosis, because we are being inundated by programs all the time of our familia, our cultures, our religions, our schools, our TV, social media, whatever. So, you taking control, and you can program yourself in so many different ways. If it's self-hypnosis or scripting or repeating things or looking in the mirror and talking to yourself, whatever it is, that the biggest way to take control over your life is to find a way that works for you to program yourself, and to keep doing that, because it keeps you in control of you. And you won't change overnight, but like if you focus on whatever kind of self-hypnotization that works for you, you'll be a totally different person in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year. And Kundalini yoga is also really
yoga.
Yeah, it's like awesome.
Rama,
like guys,
New
do you
York.
know about this? Like
Rama TV.
You know about Kundalini yoga? Like it's, I mean, I feel like I'm elitist. I'm like, it's the most powerful yoga ever.
I don't pay her to say that,
Yeah. I just love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, program yourself. We have friends that have a podcast. It's called How to Program Yourself or Reprogram. I'll write it down. I'll figure it out. But it's totally how we have to think of it. The mind is the computer. The mind is the greatest supercomputer that will ever be. And if you're not programming it, someone else is. So this should be empowering.
Yeah.
You can plug in with whatever you want with it. And surround yourself with people.
That's a big deal.
And beings and tools that can help you do that. And I know we're all in different circumstances. Sometimes we're locked in situations that we can't do that. And that's why the internet's helpful. And that's why, online communities and different tools and focusing on the forward momentum and the positivity will absolutely lead you through the doors. There's a way through every block, but focusing on the negative and the trauma in the past is just going to lead you deeper into suffering. And I know suffering seems cool, kids. But we're here to make sure you understand there's other ways to be cool.
Yeah. Like,
for real.
Joy is awesome. It's so cool. Joy
is really fun. I'm still learning.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, me too. I my last workshop at Rama was the joy dance manifesting experience, and because it like dawned on me like, oh wait, I'm like trying to manifest all these things and level up and blah blah blah, like why am I not just focused on like being joyful and manifesting joy? And it really taught me a lot, just about joy and getting there and holding space for it. And so that being said, I'm still growing into joy.
Well, you're so multi-talented. She's literally leading dance manifestation classes at Rama, and it's like jazzercising of the future.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, it is. It's ridiculous, but it's super fun. It's awesome. But also I'm going to say like Pritam Siri's classes are the most like powerful transformative classes too. So if you can like online or in person, if you're in New York City, it's just like seriously, this woman is such a gift in my life and has her power has illumined and empowered my powers. So thank you. And you're just such a wise teacher. Like,
also I manifested CARA.
We manifested each other. No, I think you manifested me. The whole thing is nuts.
I was like, I need friends, dear universe, higher self, God. I need like friends on this level. Like I just need, it's just a lonely path sometimes. And then not that I'm like on some high level, but you know what I mean? In my paradigm mentally. And then there you walked in. So thank you.
Oh my God. No, thank you. You're such a gift to me.
Okay. Now we're vomiting on everyone. Nobody wants to hear this.
Everyone wants to hear about themselves. So
I would like you to do a collective reading for all of us tuning in here. Past or future. This is outside of time.
Time isn't even a thing.
I'll let you take over.
Okay. So, I want you to first think about, so close your eyes and see the version of yourself who is living really their most empowered self. They're fulfilling their purpose. They're in that beautiful, healthy relationships, and their career feels like, oh my God, this is what exactly I want to be doing. Their love life, all the things that are like, this is where, this feels so empowering and fulfilling for me. So see that aspect of you. And now see that aspect of you, just shine the light over here. Let's share our light. Let's share our light with humanity. Just share our light, share our light, share our light. Push out your light, push out your light, push out your light. Okay. Next, I pulled a card, so keep your eyes closed. Next, let's ask whatever block or resistance or this like anything that feels like an insecurity, whatever the thing is that you're going through right now, let's just connect to that aspect of you, because that aspect of you really wants to fulfill itself. So if there's some kind of insecurity, it wants to turn into confidence. If it's lack of trust, it wants to turn into trust. If it's disunity, it wants unity. You know, if there's a problem, there is the solution. That's the fulfillment of the problem, is its solution. So just any love, wisdom, and guidance from that. Resistance, block, fear, worry, doubt, issue. Pulling a card. And then let's just do, let's ask creation, life with a capital Life, whatever guidance, love, and wisdom you have for all of us in humanity and sharing our light. And I'll pull a card. Okay, take a big deep breath in. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Eyes to the back of the head, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Now stick your hands up in the air. Hold it. Bring in the light, bring in the light, bring in the light. Now push out the light. Okay, open up. Let's see. Okay, awesome. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I love that this message from our future self, from our, it's not even future, it is us now, our most fulfilled aspect of ourself. So we get the abundance card. So there's a couple things going on here. So if we take this way back to its origins of one of the hexagrams from the I Ching, this card is teaching us about, there's this asking you, like, sigh in relief, like this, like, peace, this thing that you're hoping for is coming. All right. But it because of that sigh in relief for this thing coming, it means it might not feel like it's here yet, but it's coming. But then we see the bowhead whale. So bowhead whale, you know, when they are migrating and swimming, there's a lead bowhead whale who's charging through the ice to clear the path for the other whales to, like, use their blowholes easily. So this is saying there's something, a part of you but bigger than you, that is clearing the pathway to lead, and this is the kicker, to lead to yourself, to lead to the abundance of yourself. So there's this kind of abundance of you that is coming in, okay? And that this abundance is, like, because you're truly in yourself, right? You're not, like, with all the, like, weird programs. It's like all of a sudden there's this, like, opening of you to actually authentically be who you are. So because of that, you're in this alignment of yourself, right? It's like the right notes. Finally, you're playing the right notes and the right chords, and everything else is playing the right notes and the right chords, and this orchestra that you're in alignment with. So what you're bringing to the table, it's like you're this vessel, this tool, this channel to just, like, bring in this inspiration, because you're not blocked by all the, like, weird things that have been, like, holding us back. So there's some kind of opening happening right now that is allowing you to be a fuller version of yourself. And it's just so awesome, because that abundance, what I always like to say is that life can't help but reflect back to you that same level of abundance. Whatever's going on inside of you, life is then reflecting that back out in material format also. So that's cool. But the coolest thing is, like, you're in this abundance of yourself. So that is what is in the process. There's this opening. And then we can see that, you know, with the card that we were connecting to the thing that we're trying to overcome, the worry, the fear, the doubt, the resistance, the block, whatever, that there's this transformation happening right now. And that usually when the metamorphosis butterfly card comes up, it does talk about, like, there's a lot of work that's been done. You know, you're not necessarily the caterpillar, thank God. You're not destroying yourself on the inside of yourself in the cocoon phase, right? You're actually past all that, but you're the waiting butterfly. You're the butterfly who's just, like, used all its energy to come out of the cocoon. And now you're just waiting, right? Like, you have to wait for the sun to dry off all the goo from the cocoon. You have to, you know, like, pump blood through your wings. So there's something about, like, you might also be feeling like, oh my God, I'm ready for this next thing. I'm ready for this graduation. Like, I'm ready for this next level of me. And you're so freaking close and you're so right there. But the slowness, back to the slowness, like you have to pump the blood through the wings. You have to slow, you have to be okay with like waiting for the flight to happen. And, it's interesting because this is what your test or difficulty wants you to know. Like, you've been transforming and you just got to wait. And there's this big thing, this flight, this freedom, this new level of you that you're about to jump into. And then last but not least is what life with a capital Life wants all of us to collectively know. And it's like, nourish the shadow, because there's a couple of things that this card has now been really sharing with me in a different way. And it is about, and I can bring this back to world peace. It is about integration of every single aspect of ourselves, because life is a reflection of our insides. When we see war, when we see disunity, look to the inside. Is there war within yourself? Is there disunity within yourself? So this is really asking you to bring in and mother or father those aspects of you who feel insecure, because guess what? That insecurity is really just stemming from maybe you when you were 13, who still lives in you, who's you're letting drive the friggin' show at work. And it's like, he's driving the show because you haven't integrated him yet. Because when you integrate those aspects, then they can grow up and fulfill something even bigger. So this part of what life is asking us right now is like, see how bright that Black Panther's light is? It's because he's shining so deeply, because he's in this process of nourishing these aspects of himself that are really dark and painful for us. But it is, it is that integration process where you become whole and you become a bigger version of you. You have all your ages, all your ups and downs, you bring them all in, and then you're a freaking powerhouse. Like, you cannot imagine you have that gang. Like, I got my 2-year-old in me. I got that 5-year-old in me. I got that 13-year-old in me. I got that 20-year-old in me. Like, I got this gang, like, and they all have their gifts and they all have their like interesting, weird twerks and like idiosyncrasies. And it's like, you can't mess with me with this gang of me. Like, and that is how we become fuller versions of ourselves. And that also, when we integrate those aspects of ourselves, we're going to see that happening with everyone around us. We're getting along with more people. We're seeing more unified situations happening because we're unifying on the inside.
How do you nourish, or what's the other word you use? Integrate the shadow. Because it's such a trigger for me. I hate this word.
Yeah, shadow.
Because all the girlies on the internet who are like doing shadow work for like 20 years straight and not enjoying their lives. It makes me sad.
Yeah, exactly. I love a couple things. Like, I think one, sometimes you can easily, and sometimes it's difficult, if you just ask yourself, like, what age of me really owns this belief? And I then kind of will connect to that version and that age and see how I can work with them and have compassion for them. The other thing I like to do is, all right, it's that whole, that two sides of one coin thing. I bring in and I'm like, well, what is the feeling? Okay, so there's something about like, really feeling not good enough in a certain aspect of my life. What is the exact opposite of that mean for me? It means that I am really good in this aspect of my life. So it means that I hold that power. So looking at it like that. The work I've been really doing now, though, is like a lot of younger parts are popping up for me lately. And it's been helpful to kind of let them speak through me. And we all want that instant, like, well, I mean, when I connect with myself in these younger ages, I give them permission to like come out through the day, show me. They like to show it through hives on my skin. But they have like a lot of amazing things to say, and I didn't really realize that. So just saying out loud, like, you know, having conversations out loud when you're in a private space with these aspects of yourself, and they'll work with you, and they'll show you, once you kind of bring them in and have compassion for them, they'll show you their superhuman powers, and then you just become more superhuman. But it's a kind of, it can be a slow process.
Waves of self-knowledge. Yeah. Self-actualization.
Can I give one shout out to Moxie also?
Yes, thank you, our friends at Moxie Lower East Side, for letting us do this here. This is the dopest space, and they have so many cool aspects. So
yeah, we're in the factory penthouse, and they also we do a lot of workshops. We've been doing workshops with them, and so just thank you.
And their club here is like, I obviously, you know, don't really go clubbing, but there's always a line around the block. It's super hot, and some really good restaurants too.
So thank you, Moxie.
Thank you so much, Cara.
Thank you.
Such an honor. Can't wait for our next ventures together.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your medicine so fearlessly or courageously with the world. It's so important.
Thank you so much.
Bless
and
you.
I'm honored to be on your show. It's so cool.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Satnam.
Satnam.